This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Jordan from Smallville, Batcat Shipper. This is episode 168. My name is Tim. I'll be hosting this episode, but joining me, as always, is Dane. Dane, how's it going?
It's going good, Tim. My throat is a little sore,
Uh-oh.
but I should be good, Tim.
We'll keep the talking to a minimum, I guess, for this episode.
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk during this episode, Tim.
Well, thanks for joining me, Dane, and having your ears be a part of this episode, not your voice.
Well, you have done podcasts by yourself, Tim, so...
That is true.
You are experiencing this.
It's not much experience I like to have, though.
Yeah, talking to yourself like, like a crazy person.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you potentially have some good news coming up, Dane, in regards to your baseball team. So I know it was a disappointing ending, but hopefully some good offseason news. I mean, I was surprised when I heard it, but Oakland might actually get a new stadium. I was shocked.
Right. Right. So this is the Howard Terminal area. It's right by what's the bay called, Tim?
That I don't remember.
Bay. Yeah.
What is actually considered that part? Like.
Oh yeah, I have no idea, but it's right. It's right in the bay there. So what they're going to do is they're going to build a new stadium at this Howard Terminal property, and they're going to redevelop the ground that the Coliseum is on. So they're going to tear down the Coliseum finally.
They should technically blow it up, but
and. They're gonna build, shopping centers, affordable housing, baseball fields, stuff like that to help fund, or at least make the new stadium more affordable, to make it worth it, right? But in doing that, we have to talk about this every single time we talk about the A's and their stadium problems, right? They have to get permission to buy or rent lease the land. The Howard
it's always
Terminal,
the biggest hurdle, it seems like.
Yeah, the Howard Terminal land. It's currently owned by I think it's a steel importer. I'm not sure, but it is storage for a steel company. So they're going to have to get through that, come to an agreement with that, and then get permission from the city to build there and stuff. So not quite there. And they have to buy the Coliseum and the land around it.
That stinks they have to do that. I mean, just to afford to buy a new stadium. They just can't leave and look for a new location, but they have to kind of do stuff with that. Because I was kind of confused. I remember sending you a text like, hey, is Oakland getting a new stadium? Is it like a done deal? Because watching some of the baseball shows, it said Oakland announces plans for new stadium to open in 2023. That makes it sound like, oh, it's a done deal. It's going to happen. They'll probably start working on it. But then when I actually hear stuff, I was like, oh, it's not totally a done deal yet. They got to overcome these hurdles, like you said. So I was kind of like,
yet.
I was really hopeful and excited for you when I first heard it. Like, oh, they did it. But it's like, oh, wait, it's potential.
Yeah, so it's pretty much buying because they don't own the Coliseum. The city of Oakland owns the Coliseum and the land around it. Mm-hmm. So they would have to buy it, buy the land, and buy it out of debt, most importantly. So they can, redo the land, make the affordable housing, the shopping centers, the baseball fields, and then on top of that, they would have to deal with the private companies that own the Howard Terminal land. Come to an agreement, lease, own, go to the city with that project, get approval from them, then start building.
Jeez.
So it's not a Yankee Stadium situation where they own the land already and they can just build on it and tear down the old one, redevelop it, right? So it's really complicated. It's going to be a long process.
I gotta say though, 2023 doesn't sound like too far off when you consider all that stuff they have to do just to get it like off the ground. So hopefully, if it all goes to plan, 2023 shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, but then now we get to the controversy, right? The city of Oakland isn't a very rich city. And like I said, it's like they're trying to work with the A's, but they're trying to work against the A's. And the A's need taxpayer money to either buy the land, I think. Yeah, I think it's to buy the land, right? And it's where it gets all controversial. And, I don't live in Oakland. I'm not a taxpayer in Oakland. So, I totally understand why they wouldn't want to be paying for that,
Sure,
but on the same the same point, I guess it would be, this is why the Warriors and the Raiders are leaving Oakland, right?
Oh, really? The Warriors are leaving Oakland too?
Yeah, they're going to San Francisco.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Because there's no basketball team in San Francisco, but
and they're like the premier team
of basketball, the big NBA team, yeah. So while I can say, this is why the Raiders are moving to Las Vegas and the Warriors are moving to San Francisco, I can understand why your regular taxpayer wouldn't want to be paying for this, right? Because the money could go someplace else. So I totally understand that, and I pose no argument to that, right? I can't. But I hope this works out. After that Peralta College, I don't know what that was, a misunderstanding or something, because
that was weird.
Yeah, that was weird because they said they could build, and then the owners of the college, I think, the board members of the college said to cut off contact with Major League Baseball and the A's. So that doesn't make sense, but okay, whatever. So hopefully this all works out. The A's get the smallest stadium in Major League Baseball.
Hey, as long as it's new.
That's
all that matters.
I think 36,000.
Yeah, but even that concept drawing they had of it, you could tell it looks like a spring training ballpark. Yeah,
especially in the outfield. Outfield stands. But apparently those big arches in the kind of in the background of the outfield, that's apparently high-rise buildings, apartments. So at least it'll look nice.
Yeah, hey, that's the most important thing. Got a stadium that looks nice, where it's plumbing works. Those are the necessities.
Hopefully they get the plumbing right, because apparently this has been a problem for a long time.
Yep. If you're a player, and you just got to hold it in.
Yeah, just hold it in until you get home.
Well, Dane, my goal is that hopefully we're still podcasting when Oakland gets a new stadium.
Yeah.
We're going to have a big episode and a party.
Yeah. And this is pretty much the sort of last plan that they have. This is Plan Z,
Yeah.
Because there's pretty much no other place to go in Oakland. It's either this or try to or update the Coliseum.
Yeah, well, the ongoing saga of Oakland and their new stadium continues.
Yeah.
That's going to make a great movie one day once they get their new stadium.
Yeah, Moneyball 2.
Yeah, I was going to say the
stadium
sequel to
dilemma.
Moneyball. Oh, that's funny. But anyway, well, I think someone who's, just as Oakland is trying to get out of the Coliseum,
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is trying to get out of the pit in The Dark Knight Rises, where we're at in our Dark Knight Rises minute-by-minute commentary.
Okay, so he's never getting out then.
Yeah. At least for this episode, he might not. We only got a
Or
minute.
it looks like he's going to get out, and then all of a sudden he's not the next day.
You know what? It is paralleling that, because it's like we talked about Oakland tried to get new stadiums in different areas before. Bruce tried to make the jump several times in the movie and didn't make it. So hopefully this is a good sign where we're at the point in the film where he's going to make the jump, and we're talking about potentially Oakland finding a spot and getting a new stadium. So hopefully, it's a good sign of things to come for Oakland.
That's a great segue, Tim.
Yeah. Sometimes it just works out that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we could get your Dark Knight Rises minute by minute. Well, I shouldn't. You don't have a minute by minute copy. You just have a regular Dark Knight Rises copy. But you can get your copy of it on all these relevant media formats, whether it's VHS, DVD, Laserdisc, HD DVD, your Betamax tape, your Blockbuster membership card, your Netflix physical media, and our favorite, your VHS to DVD converter drive. So we're going to be on the 116th minute or the hour and 56 point on the film. So I'll give the countdown, and we'll see if Bruce Wayne makes the jump. Are you ready, Dane?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. As he looks up in the sky, everyone's chanting. I mean, you should make one of these videos like, well, I still gotta say, great moment when those bats fly out right there. That got a big cheer always on it the first time in the movie. I was gonna say, those funny videos where people post, like, superimpose something on the head of a character. You could actually put the Oakland logo on Bruce's head right here, as he makes the jump.
If that's the case, he's not making it.
Yeah.
As of right now.
He goes.
Or sorry, he's negotiating with that old man.
He made it, Dane. So I think this is going to work. Oakland's getting the stadium. He's out.
Yep.
He sees the sunlight.
He throws down the rope.
Not ropes for all Oakland fans. See, I think this is a sign of good things to come, Dane. We got out of this whole sequence of Bruce making the pit in this episode.
No,
so
hopefully, Tim.
So if everything works out, the deal goes through, Oakland gets the stadium, you have this minute in this episode of The Dark Knight Rises minute by minute commentary.
Yeah, I can look back fondly.
Yes. So make note, episode 168.
But before we get to our featured topic, I got to ask you about Red Dead 2. Where are you?
I was really hoping I could be on this episode saying I beat it. I'm close. Last night, I just finished the main story, and I'm starting the first epilogue.
Spoiler alert for everybody.
Yes.
I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 right now.
Yes, major spoiler.
Yeah. And Tim?
Man, I'm anxious to play those epilogues because I want to see how this is all wrapped up. And it was a really great conclusion to, right now anyway, the main story.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of played out how I expected it to, where we all knew Micah was the traitor and the rat. Yeah. I can't stand that guy.
Yeah, me neither. The first time I met him, in the wilderness, It was like, yeah, I don't like this guy.
Then even busting him out of that jail.
Oh
He was
yeah,
in town of Strawberry. He caused all that ruckus. Like,
right.
but man, I just love how. I mean, what's great about the game is you start off with the gang that you're in. It is like your family, and you come as you play through the game. You do missions with different characters. Even just talking to them in the camp, you get to know them, and you get close with these characters who are Arthur's family in the game. And it really sucks when some of them either die, and then by the time we get to the final chapter in 6, some just straight up leave, and you don't see them anymore. And it's just a great narrative of how this family got torn apart, and just all the hardships they went through, and everything not working out for them. Some of it mainly because of Dutch's own doing, and how things played out. Is really, it really sucked to see at the end where that camp is empty and there's only a few left.
Yeah, well, it's only pretty much only the people in Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah,
right.
That's the other thing. I really loved how it's leading in real nicely to the first Red Dead game, where it starts planting the seeds, like sides being drawn within the gang. You got like Arthur's side where he's questioning Dutch's, leadership. You got John joining him, and other characters like Charles. But then the characters who you go after in the first Red Dead game, like that guy, Bill Jameson, was it? I think, and Javier.
Oh, like, yeah.
Like they're siding with Dutch and like, hey, you guys aren't being loyal, and what happened to loyalty? Like, okay, I decided to see where this is going. So it is great lead up to that, and just even what happened to John Marston and how you can understand why he would want to go after Dutch and would do that, because at the beginning of the game I was wondering, man, what's going to make him really go after his former gang here, because they're all seem really close and, like I said, almost like a family. But it played out nicely as far as it making total sense, and you would understand where he's come from. So
yeah, you see, I actually thought that John was the sort of mole in Dutch's gang that was working with the Pinkertons.
It's like that could make sense, but then I'd have a hard time rooting for him in
right.
Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah. So I mean, it kind of made sense after that. Like, oh no, it's not John. It's Micah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really, really great stuff with the story. And I was going to say something about that last chapter. Now I'm drawing a blank, but there's a lot of stuff that went down.
Well, Tim, I'll ask you. Did in that final climax on that mountain? Mm-hmm. Did you decide to go after the treasure, or did you go help John escape?
No, I definitely went with John.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I couldn't.
Like, how could you go after the money after everything that went down, helping his wife and son, and then you're going to go after that money? But now I'm curious what happens when you go after that money.
Yeah, me too.
I have to look
Maybe you can look it up on
videos.
YouTube. Yeah. But I totally forgot what I was going to say about it.
So much stuff to try to remember all that happened in the final stages of the game.
Well, what I really liked was how they introduced Arthur's tuberculosis diagnosis, because it's weird because you would see him coughing, but you think it was just part of the acting. To make it more
real natural.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden it becomes this big thing when you get to Saint Denis, and then you get the diagnosis that you have tuberculosis. And I was like, oh, you die from tuberculosis. Yeah. I mean, this is like the 1899, so so it's a death sentence for you.
And it was great how they even tied it back to one of your earlier missions where you're trying to get that money that German guy Strauss loaned out. Like the first person you go to, either the first or the second, but when you go to him, that's where you get it, where he's sick with tuberculosis and you're trying to get the money. I believe he coughs on you.
Yeah. And so speaking of Strauss, did you see it? I'm blanking on the name. It's the seaside town, but you know where you kill the Pinkerton agents, or Dutch kills the Pinkerton agents? That town? Mm-hmm. What is that town called? I forget. It's like Scarlet or something.
Valentine, or
no, not Valentine.
Strawberry?
No, not Strawberry.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the time.
Dang, I forget.
There's Rhodes.
No, not Rhodes. It's kind of by the ocean. It's there's a rail line going through it. There's nothing in there.
Okay, that's where you kind of start off in the beginning of chapter 6.
Yeah,
Within chapter 5. Okay.
yeah.
I don't remember the name of that one either, because like I said, there's hardly anything that shouldn't really be considered a town.
Yeah, right. But there is another connection to that, the Strauss side missions there. I don't know if you noticed it. The woman.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
Where you try to help her and her son out who's in the mines.
No, it's a different one.
Okay.
You just
Yeah.
come past her. Yeah.
Where you just knock on her door and then she has her son.
Yeah,
And
and
then, like you kind of
it's obvious what she's doing to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah. That broke my heart.
I
I was
know.
like, oh no, I'm a
That's
terrible person.
It was great at the end where you just kick Strauss out of the game.
Yeah.
You just go like, no more. This is it. Like we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, and there is the army deserter. I don't know if you came across that one, but the army deserter and his he owes Strauss money, or he owes Strauss money, and then the army attacks you because he's a deserter, and then you can either help him or take the money.
Yeah. Of course, you got to help him.
Yeah, you got to help him. But yeah, I'm happy you finally beat the main story, Tim.
Yeah. Now, how long are the epilogues? Because
it's long.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
Looking at the progress section in the menu, I'm still at 80%.
Yeah. What part are you on in the epilogue?
I just started. I did the first thing where you're on, again, spoilers if you haven't beat the game, where you're John on the wagon with his family. He goes to get that job at that ranch.
Yeah.
So as soon as that quick little thing where these two people steal the wagon of the goods you're delivering, I just got that wagon back, and then that was it. Once it started, like the next day, I turned it off because it was pretty late, but because I was like a good point to start.
Well, it gets. I'm just gonna warn you. It gets a little bit slow because you're doing a lot of farm work.
Kind of like the end of the first Red Dead when John goes back to his family and you're doing all those chores and teaching your son different things.
Exactly like that. That's what it is. But then it picks up, and then you really find out what happens, and then you have a 40 minutes worth of credits.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's
is it
really
just
long.
credits, or is there like background images?
There's it wraps everything up. You find out what happens to everybody.
Okay, great. Now, I'm not going to say what this is because I don't want you to give me any hints if it's going to happen or not. Okay. But I have an idea in my head that I want to happen, but I'm not sure it's going to be if it's going to play out. I think it'd be pretty cool, but I'll let you know
for the ending.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll let you know what that idea is after I beat it.
I thought you were going to tell me right now.
Because I don't want you to give me any hints as far as like your reaction.
I won't. Here, I'll mute my mic. Let you go. Okay.
Okay. So here's my hope. What I think would be pretty cool is that, Arthur looked like he's dead on the mountain, but they didn't definitively say that. And there's some way, hopefully, where he could survive his tuberculosis. He was with that German family picked him up in one of the last sequences before he started the last mission. Who knows what they did? Maybe they had some type of medicine that can cure him, and it kicks in later. Anyway, regardless how it happens, I hope Arthur survives. And then later you find out that it picks up or it shows after what happens to John in the first Red Dead Redemption where he gets killed, where Jack goes to find Arthur, John's son Jack goes to find Arthur, and he's kind of the one who shows him the ropes of how to become a gunslinger like him and John used to be, and he's kind of like becomes Jack's mentor, and then Jack goes out to kill the law officer who killed John Marston. And I think that'd be a cool narrative to have. But again, not sure if that's going to happen, but as I'm playing the game and see how close John and Arthur are, and even Arthur became close to John's family, Abigail and his son Jack, I think it'd be a cooler Jack seeks them out after John dies, and he kind of takes him under his wing and trains him to be a gunslinger like they were. I think that'd be really cool. So not sure if it's going to happen, but I'd like to see that. And Dane, don't say anything.
I'm not going to say anything. But going back to Red Dead Redemption 1, it's weird because, the whole thing is John is trying to, do this one last thing so that he can live his life away from that lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
And then it doesn't work in the end because Jack becomes exactly like him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought that was sad.
I know. That's such a good story. It's a sad story, but
Yeah.
just so beautifully told. And I don't know if you saw my tweets like last week, a few weeks ago, where Red Dead's got me on like a Western film kick where I wanted
really?
to see some classic Westerns because I'm not a Westerns guy. I've hardly seen any movies, but Red Dead's so good. It just makes me want to see more stories in this time period. So I've seen films like Tombstone, Unforgiven. I've seen the first of the Clint Eastwood Man with No Name movies. A Fistful of Dollars. Probably watched the other two this weekend, but I've been enjoying those two, and just been in, like I said, a Western kick and all this cowboy stuff next to Red Dead because it's just so good.
I remember what I was going to ask you, Tim. Did you expect to leave the United States?
No, that was a surprise. I was like, oh man. I thought it was done really well because I was worried that is it going to be such a big change and shift to the game where like everything I did didn't matter, where I'm not going to go back to the mainland where we play the first half and the rest is going to be on this island. I was worried about that, but it was just the right amount of length where you're stuck on that island. It's
enough to get an idea what's going on there, and then you're out of there.
Exactly. So, I thought it was a cool little diversion, and like I said, a perfect length. It didn't drag on too much. It was just perfect. Yeah. You got to spend a few more times with other members of your gang and go through some pretty nasty stuff, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
And they tried to recreate you going to Mexico in the first game. In this one, you're pretty much going across the entire map to find the gang again.
Yeah. Yeah, so man, this is really good. After the slow start and not blowing me away right away, like the first few hours I played it really delivered. I mean, it's just a great experience playing a game like that, just where you just really get invested into the characters and the world that you're in. Yeah, it's just phenomenal, man. Now, after I beat the epilogues, there's a whole online component that just got released a few days ago as we're recording this episode, and that's like almost a game in itself. So that should be pretty fun. But I probably. Yeah, it's taken me just about a little over a month to beat it, which is working out perfectly because, like I said, I wanted to beat this before the next Smash Brothers games comes out. That comes out next week, and I think I'll have the epilogues beat by then, hopefully tonight. But yeah,
it's a great game. It's incredibly sad.
Yeah, right.
I can't make more point than that. It's so sad.
And I have to say, even playing it, like I know this is gonna have a sad and bad outcome for most of these characters, especially the main character Arthur. So not a huge surprise there, but you still get so invested into it. It's still kind of hard to see the things play out the way they did. Yeah,
especially after you come back from the nearby Cuban islands or whatever they're called. That's when the story picked up for me, where I was totally invested in it, and I was like, okay, Dutch is really going crazy, and it's like, you know what, that's enough already, Dutch. You can't do worse than that, and then he does worse than that.
Yeah, but everything with the Native Americans and father and son,
that was really sad. His son ends up dying, and they get kicked off or they have to leave their land again.
I gotta say that was probably one of the most fun missions though. Storming that
oil factory
with the factory with your horses, and it was just really fun. Oh, that was another thing too, man. I was bummed on that last mission where a horse got shot. Like, no,
almost had me in tears, Tim.
Yeah, I was glad too that this wasn't. Oh, the horses got shot, and they just move on because they had to. I like how Arthur goes back and like kind of cries over to says thank you. I thought that was a really nice touch. Kind of easing it as it passed away. I was like, oh no. So yeah, just great all around. And again, can't wait to see what happens to those epilogues. And I'll definitely let you know. I'll give my reactions on our next episode too.
Well, I will just say, Tim, no spoilers at all. It is a happy ending.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a happy ending, but
Let's
you
leave
have
it
to
there.
watch the
Yeah.
credits. You have to watch the
Happy ending
credits.
with a butt.
Yeah. With a butt, yeah.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. But being still on the topic of video games, we're going to go into our featured topic, which is going to be our top 5 favorite video game soundtracks. As we continue on some of our music themed discussions, as a few episodes ago, we talked about our favorite movie soundtracks. And we mentioned there how we wanted to do more of that, whether it was video games, TV shows. So we'll continue it with video game soundtracks. So, man, this one is pretty tough. Maybe a little more than the movie soundtracks, because I love video game music. It's, one of my favorite types of music, especially in the olden days. I've said before how I love the old 8-bit, 16-bit style of soundtracks, and even like the PlayStation 64, before everything became, orchestra, and it's just the same thing as a movie soundtrack. I always liked it how there's distinctive video game music styles and sounds that I've always associated with video games. Now it's kind of become a little generic, but even though I know there's some great modern scores, but fair warning, all my picks are going to be mostly the old school variety because that's what I think those games really capture the video game feel. And I have a feeling our lists are going to be totally different. I would be shocked if we kind of have the same ones on here, but it's a good. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say yeah, because I'm not really a fan of video game music. I don't know. I just feel like I mean, when it's done right, it's great, but I feel like most of the time it's an afterthought. Yeah.
That can be. With the immense games that's out there, I'm sure there's plenty of examples where they just had to hurry up and get a soundtrack out there just to put with the game.
Yeah.
But there's tons of classics on there and like legendary composers as well. So I'll be mentioning those as I give my list. So I have a top 5 and also some honorable mentions I'll be sure to give out afterwards. But my number 5 pick, I'm going to go with the first Sonic the Hedgehog game and that soundtrack, because this one is a game, probably the first one I played where I really noticed a jump in quality in the music. Of course, going from an NES to a Sega Genesis. I had a Sega Genesis before I had a Super Nintendo, and Sonic was the first game I got, and remember just being blown away by how big of improvement the graphics and the sound was with the music. And what's great about the Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack is that every stage has a great theme, and it just captures that era of video game music perfectly, and just memorable themes that still I love listening to today, and there's been great remixes. I mean, the first one is the greatest Sonic theme ever, and one of my favorite video game pieces of music ever, the Green Hill Zone theme. It's just such a great, catchy, main melodic riff that happens throughout it. And then, but it continues on. The Marble Zone is such a great theme, and then you got the final stage and the boss battle music with Dr. Robotnik. All the levels on there have just great soundtracks that fit the levels that you're playing with too. It's just like a great, they complement the visuals and the sounds complement each other really well in this game, where they just go together perfectly. So it's almost the perfect platformer soundtrack. And I just remember blowing me away the first time I've heard it. So, and the composer for that one was Masato Nakamura, and they continued on with the other games. Sonic 2 had some good songs, and of course, the game series moved on in the Sega Genesis era, but none of them are ever going to top that first Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack. It's just perfect. Like I said, every single stage has a great track that are different from each other, but captures that stage you're playing perfectly. So number 5 is Sonic the Hedgehog for me.
You see, I'm sort of scraping the bottom, Tim. I'm just trying to I was just trying to think of memorable soundtracks, but for my number 5, it's going to be the Elder Scrolls series in general, because they have a way of giving you the ambiance of being in the world. You hear the birds chirping, you hear the wind, you hear the trees, you hear whatever else, right? But then they sort of integrate that with a subtle soundtrack as you're walking to your next quest or whatever, right? Kind of like Red Dead Redemption 2, how there's pretty much no music, and then they subtly sort of introduce it as you're riding your horse or you're, doing whatever, right?
Or a big event happens.
Yeah, yeah,
the sound will kick in.
Yeah, and then the music is going full blast, right? So, yeah, probably the Elder Scrolls series in general. Just how they can sort of slightly introduce, hints of music here and there. So, when you're traveling along these long plains of, the map, you're not totally bored.
Yeah. So I guess it's one of those like subtle soundtracks that just immerses you into it like subtly, where it doesn't like no like major themes jump out at you, but
yeah, it's not hitting you over the head with it, So
yeah, gotcha. Cool. Well, my number 4 pick is still going to be in that 16-bit era, but different type of game. This is going to be Street Fighter 2 by Yoko Shimomura and Iso Abe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing these names right, but I want to make sure I give the composers recognitions on my list because I just love their work so much. And Street Fighter 2, we've talked about this before when we were talking about Street Fighter games, but man, this is another almost perfect soundtrack for the type of game that it has, because when you're playing fighting games, I don't think you might not necessarily think music is a big important feature for them, and of course it's not, the fighting mechanics are, but I really like and hope for good soundtracks in fighting games. I just think they add to what I enjoy in fighting games, and the music can really add to, a match that you're having with someone. And when you're playing a fighting game, especially how much I used to play Street Fighter 2 as a kid, got to have a good soundtrack so you don't get too bored as you're playing it a lot. And Street Fighter 2 definitely doesn't have that problem. It's kind of like I was saying in Sonic the Hedgehog, every level you played had the perfect song for it. Street Fighter is the same way for every character and their stage. I mean, talk about some iconic themes. Ryu's theme song is the best of the series, and again, one of my favorite video game pieces of music ever composed. Then you got classics like Guile's, and Chun-Li's themes is awesome. And then just every character's, some are better than others, of course, but I don't think you can say a character has a bad theme. Each one of them can get stuck in your head very, very easily. And it's definitely a soundtrack that stood the test of time, because you hear not just one or two things get reused, but every time there's a new Street Fighter game or a variation of a Street Fighter game, whether it's the Marvel vs. Capcom series or just other versus series, those themes usually pop up in some shape or form for those characters. You'll hear Ryu's theme in most of his appearances, not all of them. Sometimes he gets different themes, but you'll hear his classic theme in there, or Guile's and Chun-Li's. For a new game, you'll hear hints of it, if not just a full-blown remastered or remixed version of it. They're just all that good. So it's just something where you can't really mess with perfection in a way when it comes to these Street Fighter themes and musics. The soundtrack for Street Fighter 2 is awesome. And there's even like variations from the arcade version, the Super Nintendo versions. There's variations of it where they sound different. And I kind of like this almost kind of like the arrangements of it, and just the quality differ a little bit. But the main themes and the melodies that stick with you are always there. And it's just great to listen to. I haven't got sick of that soundtrack over the course of over 25 years. I've been playing Street Fighter, so I just keep going back to it. And every time I play it, I just love hearing those songs. They're just classics. So yeah, definitely got to give props to Street Fighter 2 and Yoko Shimomura. She's a great video game composer, is up there, one of the best. And I sometimes forget she does Street Fighter 2 as much as I love it, because I always associated her work with the Kingdom Hearts soundtrack, which is also really, really great. And she's done some other RPGs, so I kind of sometimes don't remember she did Street Fighter 2, and that's enough to warrant a big claim to fame all on its own, composing those great songs. So yeah, Street Fighter 2 is my number 4 pick.
Did I tell you I almost bought a Switch this past week?
Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
You should have.
well, I mean, that's why I asked you if I could play classic games. Like let's say I wanted to play.
Yeah, you never got back to it. I was
like,
man, what is this? Like, what is Dane planning here?
Yeah, like, what if I wanted to play the old Zelda games or something? But it doesn't sound like that's what that is.
No, they just have the classic Nintendo system or Nintendo games on there.
That's unfortunate.
I would like to think eventually because they do port a lot of games that are on the Wii U right now onto the Switch. I would like to think they might do that for even older games because it's just such a nice, convenient thing to have where you can just take it wherever you want.
Yeah.
So I would recommend still getting it, Dane. It's good.
Yeah. Well, because I was watching a video of Breath of the Wild, and I was like, wow,
yeah.
that looks really good.
It is awesome. Yeah. It's like almost like Red Dead in that open world, just in the Zelda universe.
Is there a weather system and a day and night system?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, good. But I guess that brings me to my next game soundtrack, and that's, like I said, Ocarina of Time. It's the first time I ever saw a sort of music integrated into the actual gameplay. And it's the first time that I actually noticed the music in a game. You know, I mean, I guess before that, it was just like that cheap MIDI sound.
Cheap but good.
So, yeah, for me, it's going to be Ocarina of Time.
Well, you'll be hearing more from me about Ocarina of Time later. So,
oh, good.
But my number 3 pick is, again, still in that 16-bit era. I'm going to be going with Chrono Trigger by Yasunori Masuda. And the Chrono series are some of the best RPGs ever. Chrono Trigger is probably my 3rd favorite game of all time. It's one of my favorite RPGs ever. It's just really, really good. A great story, especially for the time. The story was fantastic. The way you can have almost 13 different endings with your characters, or if some of your characters die, you can progress and finish the game while they're dead without reviving them. Just great, innovative stuff at the time. But man, the soundtrack, this was an epic score for the Super Nintendo. And especially with the RPGs, I know with Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, they've had great scores as well. And especially 6, that's probably one of, most recognizable and iconic game scores out there, especially for pushing the limits of what the Super Nintendo can do. But me personally, I felt Chrono Trigger's soundtrack just outshine Final Fantasy 6 as far as, doing probably what you could do the most on the Super Nintendo. Just a great sound quality and great themes throughout. And that's what I think RPGs really need, is great themes for the characters that you're going to be playing with and for the different towns and locations you're going to be visiting. The themes play such an important part for me of getting enjoyment and really immersing yourself into a fantasy world. That's what I like, especially in fantasy RPG games. I like things to have that fantasy quality where it's just not a standard orchestral type music that's playing in the background, but I like to have like different sound varieties, and especially in that 16-bit era where you got a lot of, more of that MIDI sound, but in a better quality style of it. And Chrono Trigger had that perfect mix of it where it sounded like orchestra on a 16-bit console, if that makes any sense. It's like almost as good as you can get to that quality, but having its own unique sound is just really great. And man, the character themes are so good. The character Frog, yes, it's just Frog. He's a human who's a knight who got turned into a frog, but he's a great character in the game, and he has one of the best character themes I think in all of video games. And it is one that has been done, in video game concerts. There's been orchestra variations done of it, and it sounds great that way. It's like, again, going back to where they weren't able to use an orchestra for the console, but he created songs knowing that they would sound great done by an orchestra. And that has proven to be the case, is when you hear a lot of the songs that were on the Chrono Trigger soundtrack get done by an orchestra, they just sound phenomenal. So it's just such an epic score for an epic game. It was a lengthy game, and pretty much all the music you heard through it, took you on that journey in the story you're experiencing. It just helped you get invested with that, I think. And again, having that fantasy type feel to it. So yeah, I got to give it to Chrono Trigger for just great character themes and putting on a soundtrack that I don't think was ever heard before during that time for the Super Nintendo. Like I said, really pushing the limits of what it can do and just creating that epic score. So yeah, got to give the props to Chrono Trigger. And even Chrono Cross on the PlayStation, it's obviously different sound quality. It sounds better. But again, didn't lose that, fantasy style touch that I like in RPG soundtracks, where it still has its own unique quality of sound that's just not orchestra based. So Matsuda delivered both on Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, but I got to give the edge to Chrono Trigger.
Did you ever play The Legend of Dragoon on PlayStation 1?
I didn't play it, but I watched my brother play it.
Oh.
So I pretty much know the whole story of it. That game was underrated.
Yeah.
I got to say it. I think it was really had a good story, and even the soundtrack on that one was pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to get a re-release or a update or for the PS4, but I guess it's not going to happen.
I know. I'm surprised Sony hasn't done that. They got to know it has its fan base.
They do it for Lunar, like every single console generation. So why can't they do it for Legend of Dragoon?
I do like Lunar though. That is a good RPG too.
Never finished it though.
I never played the second one. I played the first one, Silver Story Complete or Silver Star Complete.
Yeah.
See, I'm blanking on the official title right now, but like you said, there's so many variations of it. So I'm sure there's different titles with those variations too.
Was it a good story?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Okay. But my next pick is going to be something that I know you're guys probably going to talk about, at least the series, so I'm going to make it quick. And that's Final Fantasy X soundtrack, specifically the piano collection. I don't know if you ever heard it. Yeah. But, you know, I just, for some reason, I like the piano songs of Final Fantasy games. I guess Uematsu, you know, composed games, you know. I don't know. For some reason, I just like them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're great. And I haven't heard every single piano collection soundtrack, but I've heard different versions or songs from each Final Fantasy soundtrack done in piano. They're really good. Do you have a favorite piece for the Final Fantasy X soundtrack?
Probably the end theme. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's just called End Theme, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But yeah, if you had to pick one, I'd pick that one.
Yeah, it's pretty much the main theme for Final Fantasy X, but it's so great. To Xanarkin. That's just a great theme he came up with. That one's just a piano in itself on the main soundtrack of the game. But it's just a really, really great theme. And yes, Dane, you're right. I will be talking about that next.
Really?
My second pick is going to be from Final Fantasy. And man, I could just talk about the Final Fantasy series in general regarding its music. I mean, Nobuo Uematsu is a legend. He's like the John Williams of video game soundtracks. I mean, he just outdoes himself each time with the scores he did for Final Fantasy. I think he went from 1 to 11. I think 12 he didn't do, and he hasn't done one since. And it misses him. I'm not going to lie there. Final Fantasy 15 had a pretty solid score, I will say that, because that was done by, I believe, Yoko Shimomura, who I mentioned earlier. So, and I just love how Nobuo Uematsu, for each game, he changes it up. Each Final Fantasy soundtrack has its own sound style, just like a band would change up their music style for each album, but you would know it was them, but it was different. And each Final Fantasy soundtrack is like that. I love how each one has its own distinct sound quality and sound music style to it, but you know it's a Nobuo Uematsu Final Fantasy soundtrack. It's just great. So, but I'm going to just be sticking with one on here, and my number 2 pick is going to be Final Fantasy VII. To me, this is my favorite Final Fantasy soundtrack, probably my favorite Nobuo Uematsu score. It's just, I just love it so much. And I'm finally getting out of the 16-bit era. I'm going to the PlayStation era and the 32-bit music sounds. And man, talk about a big jump from 16-bit to this next generation at that time with the PlayStation, and just getting an epic masterpiece of an RPG video game soundtrack. I just love, this one has great variety in it as well. You have some, you know, orchestral style themes with the main Final Fantasy theme. I just love that. It's my favorite main theme from a Final Fantasy game. It just, I think it's an emotional piece that, you know, knowing what happens to certain characters in there, it just, you know, really, I think, hits you once you get to that open world. It's just great. After you finish that mission in the Shinra hit base headquarters during that motorcycle chase, you get out to the open world for the first time, then you hear that main theme kick in. It's just great. I just love it so much. But just it kicks off with a bang with the bombing mission piece. And that's just a great thing, a great kind of action beat piece of music to get the game going on a high level and for the mission you're about to start on. But then there's great character themes in there too. I mean, Eris's theme is a classic, and boy, when it plays, when spoiler alert here, when Sephiroth kills her, man, it's the perfect gut punch musically to make you feel even sadder when that moment happens. But then you get into, more, carnival style type music when you get to, I forget the name of it, but there's that portion of the game where you go into that area that's like a theme park, and then you have the chocobo races and that menu theme song. That one always gets stuck in my head. But then you got the epics of epics in video game music. One Winged Angel. I mean, that's one of the best pieces of video game music of all time. I would say one of the best pieces of music in general. I mean, limited to the resources he had with the PlayStation and not having, to record it with a full orchestra, but he got an orchestral sound like never before with that piece of music, with One Winged Angel at, Sephiroth's theme, and it plays in the final battle with him. You got the sound there, but then hearing that choir that's doing the vocal arrangements for it, being that all done on the PlayStation, sound hardware, just was really, really cool. Just at that time, just never hearing anything like that in a video game before. It's like, wow, it doesn't get any more epic than this. And I got to say, a cool memory I have is going to a Final Fantasy concert back in 2011, and it was really cool. I got to do a meet and greet with Nobuo Uematsu and the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi. They were both in attendance. Nobuo Uematsu even played on a few songs. But what was cool on the very last song they did was One Winged Angel, but their orchestra wasn't so big where they could have a choir singing the vocal arrangements on there. So what they did, they figured, everyone in the audience here is diehard Final Fantasy fans. You know the tune and the melody of it. What we're going to do, we're going to put the words on the screen, and you're going to sing along to it to create the choir vocals. And we did, and it sounded amazing. It sounded just like hearing like there was a professional vocal choir in the background, but it said it was the audience doing it. It was a really fun thing to do, to participate in that legendary song. So, yeah, Final Fantasy VII is a masterpiece. It's a 3-disc collection of the soundtrack, and for the most part, I think almost every track delivers. I just love the mood it creates when listening to it. The sound style for Final Fantasy VII is my favorite. It's one of my favorite variations of the classic Final Fantasy prelude theme. It's different, but again, I love it. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII is always probably going to be my favorite piece, or pieces of music done by Nobuo Uematsu, who has many, many, legendary works as a composer in the video game field. So, but Final Fantasy VII, for me personally, stands above the rest. I just love it so much.
You brought up Final Fantasy 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Ifrit you're fighting at the end?
Yeah. Well, not the very last boss, but he's one of the last boss. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the song that's playing when you're fighting him is amazing. I don't know why I just thought of that.
No, that was a cool boss battle too.
Yeah.
It was a different visual look for Ifrit too, which we never seen before. Like a little more human, not just this big monster. Oh. Yeah, I still got to play the Final Fantasy 15 DLC.
Yeah, I haven't even touched that. I mean,
I got them. I got them all downloaded, so I just got to play them.
Yeah.
And they just announced too that they're not going to continue on with their other DLC plans.
Why?
I think the studio's closing down.
Oh,
that
really?
was working on them. Yeah, which is kind of a bummer.
You would think that Square would do that in-house, but
I know, you would think.
Yeah. Or maybe it was a company owned by Square.
Oh, I think it's like another division of Square.
Yeah.
But I guess, wasn't worth it in the end. I guess to put more resource into it. And the main director for Final Fantasy 15 is leaving Square altogether just to start his own company.
Oh well.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be seeing much more of that, but yeah. I still love that game.
It was the driving around, and then you can't drive around at night thing.
That's right. Yeah, unless you're really strong to fight all the monsters. Or what you got? No, you got those headlights you can have that I think would stop monsters from attacking you.
Yeah, I think in one of the DLCs you get a monster truck or something. Or like a tank.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I never got that though, but
yeah. And plus, too, like you start off the game, you're going to your own wedding, so it's not the most exciting thing.
Yeah, but things happen
Yeah.
to make it exciting.
For me, like I've said it before on this podcast, it's the BioShock Infinite soundtrack.
Mhm.
I did get the special edition just for that, and it's great. I mean, like I said, it's all classic American songs that they put a twist on it. Like there's a CCR song that shouldn't be in the time period of the game, but there's time travel with the game and in the game. I mean, and they stole the song from CCR, and it's a barbershop quartet version of one of their songs. So yeah, I'm gonna have to pick BioShock Infinite.
Well, so that made your list. I knew it had to be on your list if it made when we're talking about our favorite movie soundtracks. You liked it so much you had to bring it up there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I knew it had to be on your video game one too. But for me, for my number one absolute favorite video game soundtrack ever, Dane, you mentioned it earlier, but it is Ocarina of Time. And the Legend of Zelda series has some of the most iconic pieces of video game music ever. And I'll just say in music ever. I mean, that Legend of Zelda theme is just iconic and classic. It's fantastic. And of course, it was done by Koji Kondo, who did a lot of the classic Nintendo themes you know and love, like Mario. But Zelda is his masterpiece, and in particular, Ocarina of Time. I just love that soundtrack so much. And like you, Dane, wasn't the first game where I really noticed video game soundtrack for the first time, because I did earlier. But I just loved how it was the first game that at least I played that really incorporated music into its gameplay. I mean, the way that you learned songs on your ocarina really blew me away for the first time I played. Like, oh man, this is awesome. And something it never really did in the games I played. And Zelda games always had a flute that you would play a quick song. You wouldn't actually hit the buttons to play the notes. You would just select the item, hit it, and then a song will play automatically. And then usually the flute in Zelda games lets you fast travel to different locations on the map. And Ocarina of Time does that too when you play certain songs. But I just love the idea that you get to play the notes and it's like you're really playing the instrument. And I remember being obsessed with that, where I would go online and people would figure out how to play, other songs on your ocarina. Like I would play the Imperial March, the Simpsons theme song on there. I would figure that out or download some notes that people would put online and just play it on this ocarina. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that. But man, the songs you play on there are just classic. I just love them so much, from Zelda's Lullaby to the different dungeon themes where you could fast travel to, like Minuta Forest is one of my favorites. Serenade of Water, just so great. But my all-time favorite song off the soundtrack, and this is one of my favorite video game songs in general, is the Lost Woods / Soraya song. That thing is as catchy as a song could be. When I first heard it, I just loved it immediately. And it captured that world of the Kokiri Forest that you're in so beautifully, I think. It just really immersed you into that world like a song never has before in a video game for me. Because the Kokiri Forest and just forests in general are like my favorite environments to play in fantasy type RPG games, because those usually have I just love how it looks, being surrounded by massive trees and like the sun just barely shining through. And then you got fairies flying around, these different mythical creatures. So I love the forest setting in RPG games in general. But when it has, a really great music theme to go along with it, I think it takes it to another level. And I felt the Lost Woods theme song did that in Ocarina of Time. It just made me love that environment and that location in the game even more. It's just so good. And there's been a lot of great variations of the Lost Woods theme song as well. Super Smash Bros. Melee had a great version of it where it's just the theme being played on a flute. Then you got some great electronic style remixes of it. You got some rock remixes of it, which you'll probably notice as I'm going to be putting as the intro, but you probably heard it already, obviously. As you listen to this episode, it's a rock remix of the Lost Woods theme done by The Only Deer Alive on YouTube, is the YouTube channel where I got this theme song, or this version of the Lost Woods done on an electric guitar that's more rock inspired. I think it sounds really cool. So that theme song in general, if Ocarina of Time wasn't the greatest soundtrack, but it still had the Lost Woods theme, I would still probably put it as one of my favorite video game soundtracks just based on that song. I just love it so much. But the soundtrack in general is just amazing. I just remember putting the cartridge in for Ocarina of Time the first time, starting it up, and then you just hear that piano kick in with the opening title screen. And you see Link riding on the horse throughout the landscape of Hyrule, and the main title theme plays. It's just really, really great. And the actual Ocarina of Time title screen piece of music that plays there is a variation of the first flute theme song you play in the very first Zelda game. So I thought that was a nice little callback to have from the first Zelda game, but it ends up becoming the opening theme song for the greatest Zelda game ever and the greatest game ever, in my opinion. But I mean, the songs just the soundtrack just continues as you play along. I just remember loving every bit of music. As I played through the game for the first time, as excited as I was to get to the next point in the story or to the next area of the map I haven't been to before. One of the things that got me excited about that was to see what great new piece of music I'm going to hear as I enter a new location or go to a new dungeon. It's just, that's how great it is. Every aspect of the game, the music tied into it for me as far as really enjoying it. It's just so much great stuff to it. And I know Ocarina of Time is considered one of the greatest games ever. It just had its 20th anniversary, and I've been seeing tweets about it, and there's been YouTube videos about it, why it's such a masterpiece and why it stands the test of time 20 years later. Tim? 20, yeah.
Oh, man.
But as highly regarded it is as a game, I don't hear it mention the soundtrack anyway as one of the best soundtracks ever. It's considered a great soundtrack, but never as like one of the all-time greats, I think. At least in some of the people I talked to over the years and some lists I've seen. It's never usually considered like amongst the best of the best, but to me it is. And maybe it's just because I just have great memories of that game just blowing me away. Like I said, it's my favorite game of all time, and it was just such a great experience playing it. And I think the music had a lot to do with it, and just why I love it so much. So yeah, I got to give my number one spot to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And just the series in general has some great soundtracks. Link to the Past is another very, very solid one. Wind Waker has a great soundtrack. And same thing with Final Fantasy. I wanted to just focus on one particular game, but I could easily talk about the series. Both Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy, their soundtracks are just, amazing. And they're just, some of them are better than others, of course, but each one, you're getting quality music that, you could just enjoy without playing the game. I got all the soundtracks pretty much. I bought all of them all on CDs, and of course now I just ripped them all, put them on my iPod, and I listen to them regularly. And I got a lot of different ones to choose from, just amongst those two game series, because they're just amongst the best of the best. Nobuo Uematsu and Koji Kondo are outstanding music composers, and their work's going to be remembered for a long time. But yeah, whatever. I just got to pick one. See, it's funny. I think Ocarina of Time is my favorite video game soundtrack ever, but I would say Final Fantasy it's probably my favorite series of video game soundtracks over The Legend of Zelda, just because there's more variety and the tracks are diverse and different for each game, besides some of the main themes like the prelude and the main Final Fantasy theme being reused and the victory fanfare. With Zelda, as great as the soundtracks are for each game, you do get a lot of repeats and familiar themes. So that's why I kind of give the edge just a little bit to the Final Fantasy soundtracks, but both are amazing. I just love listening them to those musics whenever I can, and I don't think that's ever going to change. They're just all outstanding pieces of music.
Damn. It's I mean, of course it was going to be Final Fantasy and Zelda, right?
Yeah, it's not a big shocker.
But I didn't know you could speak in such eloquent ways about them, because to be honest, like, I don't know, I almost feel like the music for Final Fantasy has become like just make it fantastical and it's okay. But I didn't know that there was still subtlety in them. You know what I mean?
Definitely over the games. I really do think they lost some of their touch in the more recent games like 12, 13, and 15, because Nobuo Uematsu is not composing them anymore. It has lost a little bit of its magic.
Did he retire or something?
That. Yeah, he kind of took a step back, and he's having some health problems now. So which is disappointing. So he already said he's not gonna, because he's mainly been focusing on touring with the Final Fantasy concert series.
Oh, I see.
So
did he do the music for the online ones? What is it? 11 and
11 and 14. He didn't do 14,
Oh.
and he did do some stuff for 11, but I think that was the first one he actually had help from another composer to do some of the other
I see.
tracks on there.
I see. Man, how do you do a soundtrack for a online game?
I know.
It's like you would have to keep on doing it, right?
Well, unless they just, have a set amount of tracks they know they want to do and they know the
yeah.
locations, and then maybe they'll reuse them if they want to create more content or whatnot. Or they just bring the composers back and say, hey, can you compose some new songs for our, expansions and whatnot?
Right.
But, yeah, he's a legend. I mean, his work speaks for himself, and just everything, the themes he created and what he was able to do just on the basic NES system is just fantastic. So
Now, the big question is, Tim, did he do the soundtrack for the Final Fantasy movie, the first one, Spirits Within?
No, I don't believe he did. But
Really?
yeah, I'm going to say no, but I'm going to look that up real quick because I know a lot of people from the game, as far as the main creator of it, he directed the movie. So some part of me thinks, well, did he ask Nobuo Uematsu to do it? But I'm pretty sure he didn't. Now let's see.
He's retiring, or you said he was retiring and everything. I wonder if he's going to do the music for the remake of 7.
I mean, they don't have to do much, really. I mean, I wouldn't remake.
Yeah.
Maybe just have the quality sound a little better, but I wouldn't change much of it, really, to be honest.
Right.
I'd do a full remix. As I said, I love it how it is. And no, he did not do it, which I thought.
Oh,
Elliot
dodged a bullet.
Goldenthal.
Dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't have that blemish on his resume. So. Well, I shouldn't say that because he could have elevated the movie with his great soundtrack. So.
That confusing story and the boring story.
I've only seen that once and never had a desire to see it again. As big of a Final Fantasy fan I am, because it did not feel like Final Fantasy.
You remember the main character in that movie was supposed to be like a new digital star or something?
Yeah.
They tried to spin that, but
wasn't he like on the cover like a model, like a fashion magazine or something like that?
GQ or something.
Yeah.
I guess that didn't work out.
Yeah. But hey, we still got Final Fantasy VII Advent Children and Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive, which were much, much better Final Fantasy movies than Spirits Within.
Yeah. The Final Fantasy VII movie was really good. I liked it.
Yeah. I mean, technically now, the remake could probably... I wonder if the graphics on that are going to outdo the visual quality of the movie, because that's over 10 years old now.
That's what I've always wondered. Like, the Spirits Within movie. I haven't gone back and watched it as you haven't, but I wonder if it compares worse than today's CGI graphics, video game graphics, or is it actually still better than that?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling the way games are looking now, it might not hold up to them. I would think.
Yeah.
But
it's supposed to be, like a game changer, right? That movie.
I think it was visually. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't really seen anything look that realistic before in this animated movie, so it's just not memorable, and the story was just so forgettable. Man.
It's confusing. Tim. You can ask me the basic plot points of The Spirit Within. I got nothing, Tim.
Same here. Yeah.
I know there's a woman in it.
And there's like these ghostly spirit creatures that they take your soul or something. I don't know.
Aren't they like machine ghosts or something?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Something weird.
Yeah, not any Final Fantasy connections to it. I think the only thing there was that someone in the background that you could barely see had like a Chocobo like logo on his shirt. That was it.
Wasn't Sid in it?
Yeah, but it was spelled different. I think it was spelled S-I-D instead of C-I-D.
C-I-D,
so.
yeah.
So they couldn't even have that.
Right.
So yeah, those are my top 5 picks, but want to give some honorable mentions to some other great soundtracks. I mentioned before Kingdom Hearts by Yoko Shimomura is great for all the games. 1 and 2, Birth by Sleep is all three of those are fantastic scores. That, what's great about it is not only creating new things for the characters, but going to Disney worlds and not using the classic songs you would know from those movies all the time, but creating new ones for those worlds was a feat in itself. And she did a great job of composing great things for those Disney worlds, just all on her own, that became memorable. And sometimes she would incorporate the main theme from Disney movies in there, but for the most part, she just created her own that fit really, really well. And then back to some more old school games. The Mario Brothers, the classic, but Super Mario 64, I think, is my favorite Mario soundtrack. Again, it was one of those moments of playing the first game of the 64. The graphics looked amazing, and the sound quality was, it was a Mario soundtrack heard like none before, coming off of the 8-bit and the 16-bit one. So Mario 64 had a great soundtrack as well. And then, believe it or not, Dane, I think one of the best NES soundtracks that doesn't get talked about a lot is the Godzilla game.
Really?
Yeah. It's great 8-bit mini sounds, but catchy themes. I mean, the main title screen and then the levels throughout, it is really good stuff. You know how much I love my 8-bit MIDI soundtracks, and this is one of the best. I love the Godzilla one. So anyone looking at...
You think about Godzilla, and I can't think of a single theme.
Yeah.
Right?
So when I think of Godzilla music, I think of the game. That was the most like catchy and memorable Godzilla theme songs I think you're going to hear is in that NES game.
Speaking of Godzilla, thanks for the traffic, Godzilla.
Oh yeah. That was funny. They making a Godzilla versus King Kong movie. I go, yeah, they just started filming. Well, I'm stuck in traffic because of production.
Well, they closed. I don't take the freeway. But they closed down one. We have three freeways, right? H1, H2, and H3. They closed down H3. That's all the traffic coming from the windward side of the island, which is where my parents live, going to the west side of the island. You go through a mountain, right? There's a big mountain range, so you go through the mountain. I guess that's where they were filming. So they're filming on the H3, and I figure, nobody's gonna come this way. I mean, they're gonna go a quicker way, but no, people were going my way, and traffic was all backed up. I had to cut through, different side roads and stuff to get around all the traffic. People were trying to get onto the other freeways, and oh man, thankfully, it was only 1 week. I think it was Thanksgiving weekend or week. So, hopefully the movie's good.
Yeah, I mean, you got to write a lot writing on this movie now, Dane.
Yeah. I mean, it usually takes me like less than 20 minutes to go pick up my girlfriend from work. Took me 45 minutes.
Wow. Man, were you almost expecting to see Godzilla or King Kong just based how bad the traffic was?
Well, I don't know, Tim. It was like,
because what you were describing is like almost sounded like there were monsters roaming around and like everyone was trying to get out of there.
Yeah, it was a monster called Hawaii Roads.
Yeah,
Hawaii traffic, because I swear they close down one road, it backs up everybody for miles. One road, nowhere near you, and it backs up for miles, Tim.
Yeah, that's what's going to have Godzilla and King Kong eventually team up in the movie.
Yeah.
Wide traffic. Yeah. That's what they're going to battle against.
Well, at least, in the movie, if they need a traffic shot, right, they got it. So...
You didn't see any cameras or drones with cameras flying overhead getting the shots of all the cars piled up.
Well, I know you see, I don't know why it was so bad this time, because the first Godzilla movie, the one with Elizabeth Olsen,
mm-hmm.
I know they were filming down here and they didn't block off any lanes of traffic. So I don't know why this one was so bad. I don't know why they needed one. Yeah.
I wonder if the holiday weekend had anything to do with it.
No, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any school either, so traffic should have been lighter. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when they used to film Lost here. Like, they used to film Lost on the road that I work on because it looks like
That had to be fun every day.
yeah, it looks like you're going into a deep tropical forest, right? Where I work, and it was one lane in each direction, right? And so what they would do is they would close down the road. They would contraflow the traffic, right? But then every once in a while they would have to stop so that like a truck can back up and get out of there or whatever. So yeah, it's fun eating in your car.
Yeah.
You know, after you get lunch, and then you get back to work, and lunch is already over.
Doesn't even feel like a break. I
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah, you're sitting in traffic.
Yeah. Well, did that turn you off of seeing any of those movies or TV shows? It's like knowing the traffic and time you're wasting because of these movie or TV show productions.
I'm not gonna lie. Maybe like if you ask somebody from Toronto or Vancouver or LA, you know, it does kind of like bring me out of it. I was like, that's not what that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like you'll see certain things and then you'll be like, no, that's not a high tech that's not a high tech airport. That's the convention center.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that type of stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine. Well, I'll let you know if Godzilla and King Kong was worth the traffic you had to endure that day, Dane,
Yeah.
once it comes out next year.
Well, it comes out next year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The first Godzilla sequel comes out or 2019 in May.
So who's in the Godzilla versus King Kong?
The only one I know is Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. She's in the sequel that's coming out this year. And
Yeah.
she's going to be in that one too. And can't remember anyone else who's going to be in it. I know they announced the cast, but no one who really stood out to me as like a big time actor, at least not I'm remembering. But let's be honest, I really don't care who's not the human cast. I just want some good Godzilla, King Kong, and monster action, really.
Yeah.
As long as the cast doesn't, human characters don't annoy me, and I get some good monster action, that's all I care about with these type of movies. I don't need complex, great character-driven moments with them. That's not why I see these movies for. You go for the monster.
Yeah.
Like I said, as long as they're not annoying, they don't take me out of it, and there's more human interactions more than monster stuff, then that's where I can kind of get boring and make you think, oh, come on, this is a monster action movie. We're not here to see character family drama or whatnot.
Well, hopefully it's good, Tim, because the traffic wasn't very good.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll let you know if it was worth it.
I'm just wondering. I'm just trying to think back, because I remember when they were filming Jurassic World, the second Jurassic World,
Uh-huh.
and I don't think there was that much traffic.
I wonder why it changes from, I guess, movie to movie.
Oh, you know what? My sister lives down there where they're filming. I think she got stuck in traffic. So yeah, they closed down one road, and I don't get how it gets so bad.
Yeah, like I said, it seems like it sounds like it depends. It's different for each movie too. Like,
Yeah.
causes the amount of traffic that you have to endure.
Yeah, Tim. I don't.
If only
Hopefully
Star
you-
Wars or a comic book movie would film in Hawaii, but it seems like they hardly do.
Well, hopefully you enjoy your movie, Tim. Thanks a lot.
No problem. But anyway, I was going to say, how did we get onto the traffic? That's right. I mentioned the Godzilla game with its great soundtrack. But the only two I wanted to mention too is the Star Fox series. That has a great soundtrack, especially the Super Nintendo one. That is a great, unique audio quality sound to it. I don't think any other Super Nintendo game had. It's just really good. And then lastly, how can I not mention this on the Batman podcast? The Batman NES soundtrack. I mean, you guys hear me geek out about that one so much, and it didn't quite crack my top 5, but it would definitely be in my top 10. You know how much I love that Streets of Gotham City theme song. It's fantastic. That whole soundtrack is one of the best in the 8-bit era. So I cannot talk about video game soundtracks and not mention the classic Batman NES one. So so there you have it. Those are our top 5 favorite
Hey,
video
Tim,
game
you know
soundtracks.
what? I think I have an honorable mention.
And what's that?
The Last of Us.
Okay.
I believe it's Gustavo Santaolalla, I think. Um, he does that soundtrack, and then he does a bunch of movies.
Okay.
It's a great soundtrack. It doesn't sound like he's, and it's how it should sound, because it's post-apocalyptic. It doesn't sound like he's actually using instruments. It sounds like he's banging on a trash can. And he made his own guitar,
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, I'm gonna say the Last of Us soundtrack.
Okay, cool. Still gotta play that game one of these days.
It's
I
really
know,
good, Tim.
I know how great it is. Yeah,
Don't spoil yourself on it.
I think
Is
I
what I would
might.
say.
I think there's certain things I might know what happened, but at the same time, the longer I go without playing it, maybe I'll forget. And when I do get to play it, it'll be brand new. Like I won't remember what happened.
The only time I've ever screamed at a television.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. So yeah, that's it for our future topic. And as we continue some of our music discussions, eventually we got to do our TV one, which I think I've said before how that's going to be really hard to pick our favorite TV themes throughout the course of the years and how many TV shows there have been. So we'll eventually get to that at some point. But yeah, we can go ahead and move on to our actually this right now one piece of bit of news that we've had. And we'll get into some other stuff in Jordan's email that we have. But right now, the only one I wanted to mention is that we got the full title for the Birds of Prey film. And it's going to be called Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
That's so great. I love this title. They should have just called it not Birds of Prey. They should have just called it The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
I mean, when this first came out, I believe
Yeah.
Margot Robbie sent an Instagram post of the script with that written on in like red pen or something. Everyone thought, okay, they're just showing that, they read the script, they're probably going to go into production soon, and she was just joking around with that. But then I believe this Hollywood Reporter confirmed it. It's like, nope, that's the actual title. We can confirm that that's what it's going to be called. Like, okay. I mean, it's definitely a mouthful, that's for sure. It's not going to make for a great hashtag when you're talking about the movie. It'll probably still just be Birds of Prey. But I mean, it's funny. Again, I could be totally wrong on this, but I just really feel that Warner Brothers and DC are trying to make Harley Quinn like their Deadpool, because this seems like something like a Deadpool sequel type of title would have, even though they're just going with Deadpool 2. But
Right.
it seems like they're going for that type of humor and joke. And for me, I don't think that fits Harley Quinn. And I think that's kind of the direction she is in the comics now, which I haven't read, which I guess they're taking that from. But that's not how I view Harley Quinn. I mean, she's not that type of character. She's a fun character. She has funny moments, but she's not Deadpool, where it's just like she has to be. They really have to put the jokes and humor at forefront with her. And it seems like that's what they're going for, especially with this title. So makes me just think how much humor is going to be in Birds of Prey. I just hope there's a nice balance of it, because I really don't want it to be like DC's Deadpool with the Birds of Prey movie. I don't think it needs to be that. Harley Quinn can have some great funny moments, but I just don't want it to be Deadpool. I'll just say that. I mean, I hope they don't start doing fourth wall breaking stuff, kind of like how her animated series trailer was. Even that I wasn't too keen on, but given it being that's an animated series, I can live with it. I just hope they don't make that jump into the actual movies, especially when you got characters we've been dying to see in live action for the first time in this movie, like Cassandra Cain and Black Mass. So I don't know, it just makes me think of just the tone of what this movie is going to be. So it'll be interesting to see once we get that first trailer, and if that title is any indication to what we could expect to see in the movie.
I'm totally on the opposite side of that, Tim. I mean, that we're in a different stage of superhero movies now. Marvel's taken over. The Christopher Nolan Batman films are far, far in the past, it seems.
Yeah.
I say just do what Marvel's doing. I mean, it can't get any worse. So just throw it at the wall, see what sticks. It seems like Marvel knows what they're doing, right?
Obviously,
We all love the Avengers movies. We all love the Spider-Man movies and Captain Americas and Black Panthers and Deadpools, right? So let's just do what they're doing because it seems to be working for them. And it seems like, I mean, who else is going to be playing this role?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, who else in the DC lineup that's well known, that's loved by fans, is going to be playing this role?
I had someone in mind, but then you said well known and loved by fans. Like, well, he doesn't fit that. I
Exactly.
said I would think Booster Gold would be that type of character.
Yeah,
and he would fit that mold perfectly.
Nobody knows about
Booster
Gold. So yeah, Harley Quinn. You already introduced her in a movie. Yeah, that movie didn't do good, but Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn were the only positive things about that. And Will Smith, I guess. So yeah, just do whatever and let the filmmaker make her own film, and let's see how this turns out. You know what I mean? Instead of like trying to make her into Batman, which is what they did with Superman, which is what they kind of did with Wonder Woman.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
kind of a little bit. So just do something different. I mean, stop it with all this oneness. We got to match the Zack Snyder universe that he created.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're doing that anymore.
Yeah, just forget about that. Let's take Aquaman in a different direction. Let's take Birds of Prey in a different direction. Let's take the Harley Quinn movie in a different direction. So I'm positive on this. So
man, this is the first where I'm, you're on the more positive side of a DC movie bit of news, and I'm on the more cautious, like, let's wait and see type of thing.
I mean, I think we're at the point where let's just try something,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, let's make it like the Zack Snyder universe where everything has to be overcast and dark and serious and Batman has to be, a dictator, right? Let's forget about all that. Let the filmmaker do her own thing, and let's go in a completely different direction with this movie that's not starring one of the big three.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, yeah. Again, it's just the title. Maybe I'm drawing too much from that title and thinking what it could be, but I don't know. That's why I'm just really curious to see once we get our first footage from it and see what the tone of this movie is going to be, because it really could be one or the other, where it could be the more serious crime based type of movie, or it could be more on the humorous side too, with Harley Quinn being involved with it. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm glad you're on the more positive side of it, Dane.
I know,
that is a nice change.
Right? Yeah, and with this title, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, it seems like, I don't know how to say it, Tim. Like, it seems like they're not taking themselves super serious, which is a great thing to see, because we have this sort of self-seriousness when it comes to Justice League and when it comes to Batman vs. Superman, which I recently rewatched.
Oh, you actually rewatched it? Wow.
Yeah. That's what kind of sort of changed it for me over this Thanksgiving holiday. I rewatched Batman vs. Superman, and I think with this different direction, and I hope they're going in a different direction, and I hope this Birds of Prey movie isn't we're saving the world from whatever, right?
Yeah.
From a witch or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it would be, especially with Black Mask as the villain.
Yeah. So
because these type of characters don't need to have that type of world-saving scenario.
Yeah. So I'm kind of actually hopeful for this, Tim.
Yeah, that's a great catch with it too. Like Ewan McGregor is Black Mask, Margot Robbie's back, so there's a lot going for it. Like I said, I just don't want it to be their Deadpool. I'll just say that. I'm not saying it doesn't have to have any humor in there or jokes. I just don't want it to be so outlandish like Deadpool. So
yeah, and speaking of Batman versus Superman, it contains one of my favorite scenes from any superhero movie ever, Tim.
Oh wow! Yeah. Now, should you say it now or save it for Jordan's questions in his email because it'll relate to that.
Let me read his questions real quick because
well, one of them is just what your top 5 favorite scenes of the DCEU so far. So if you're saying that's one of your favorite moments, I
will save it. I will save it. Yeah, it's probably one of the best scenes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, interested to find that out, and we will find out in a few minutes because now we can get into Jordan's email in our conversation with Alex listener feedback section. And as always, Jordan chimes in with an email saying, "Hey, super friends, it's super sad to have lost Stan Lee. I love how you pay tribute to him by including his cameo in Teen Titans Go to the movies at the beginning of your last episode. That cameo is hilarious, and it made me smile hearing it at the beginning of the episode, just like it has every time I watch Teen Titans Go to the movies." Yeah, I still haven't seen Teen Titans Go to the movies. I definitely want to, though. I probably should now that it's available to rent. But I was watching like tribute stuff to Stan Lee's, and there was videos about all the Stan Lee cameos. I saw that one, and it really made me laugh. But I thought it'd be the perfect one to use for our podcast. You got Stan Lee mixing it up with DC characters, and it was perfect. So yeah, it was definitely a great moment. He continues saying, "I'm not at all familiar with Ella J. Basco, but as I always say, when an actor I'm not familiar with is cast in a DC role, DC has a super track record with casting. So I'm super confident Basco will be super in the role. It's super exciting to have the final major role in Birds of Prey cast. We just got over a month before it starts production, and I'm super pumped. First we thought Young Justice Outsiders was coming in 2018, and then we found out it would be in 2019. Then on the DC Universe digital service original series release schedule, it looked like it would be releasing on December 28th, 2018. But now we officially know that it will be releasing on January 4th, 2019. After years of waiting, we are finally just over a month away from this as well, and I'm super excited. It premieres the day after Gotham Season 5 does, so that's quite the super back-to-back duo of DC premieres we've got to look forward to. The latest trailer they just dropped for Young Justice Outsiders looks super. I love the moment with 3 of the classic Outsiders together, Batman, Katana, and Metamorpho. My favorite Titan, Superboy, gets a lot of time to shine in the trailer, which makes me happy. And it looks like he and Dick will be working together a lot. Well, I'm super pumped about Dick's covert suit, which while it's different in design, in concept, it reminds me of when he was wearing a covert suit working for Spiral during the New 52 Grayson comics. I'm also super pumped to see him in the Nightwing suit in the trailer as well. Yeah, Young Justice is going to be here before you know it, and I really like that last trailer we got that you mentioned. And seeing those characters again is great. I like that moment where, like you mentioned, the original Outsiders with Metamorpho. There's that point of the trailer where Deathstroke is just shooting up Metamorpho, and it looks like he's got him, but then the bullets just flop right out, and Deathstroke's all, yours are bulletproof. That's annoying. And just great moments like that and character interactions. And then again, like you mentioned, a lot more of Superboy and Nightwing, which is going to be just great to see more of because they just did a great job of bringing those characters to the screen with this series. And the fact we're getting more of that is going to be awesome. So yeah, January 4th. I didn't know it was Gotham was that premiering on that time too. I knew it was going to be early 2019, but I forgot it was in the beginning. So yeah, more DC stuff coming in the near future. And I don't know if you saw these leaked images, Dane, but I believe the final episode of Gotham has been shot, and some leaked pictures came out of the actors playing Riddler and Penguin, full-blown Riddler Penguin costumes really? Which looks like they're gonna, they've already said before there's gonna be a flash forward where we're probably gonna see Batman, and I'm kind of getting the impression that there's gonna be like a quick montage of all the villains that we got introduced in Gotham. We'll be seeing probably Batman apprehend them or take them down, and in the costumes that we already know them to be in, as being familiar with Batman's Rogues Gallery. But I got to say, their costumes did look pretty good, especially Riddler's and Penguins. Here's how I would describe it: almost like a modern, updated version of the 66 series costumes. That's what it feels like. It's going for that, almost golden age comic booky style visual look. Penguin in his top hats, and his monocle that he has. Just the visual reminded me, like, if they were to make the 66 shows today, that's how it would look. So for some reason, I think it fits and it looked neat. And it was just like leaked behind the scenes filming shots, but it should look pretty good once I think we actually see the final episode. So I'm actually getting pretty excited for this final season of Gotham. As I've said before, I've stuck with it for this whole series. I got to see how it ends. So
I don't know. I saw that Bane costume, and that did not
That
look
I'm not
good.
excited for.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, there's no defending that in my opinion. That looked pretty bad. They shouldn't even call him Bane.
I
But
wonder if at the end Gordon's gonna have a mustache.
no, they got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It won't be what's the point?
Yeah,
This whole series was
mustache,
leading up to his mustache.
glasses, top hat. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know about a top hat for Gordon, but
Not a top hat. Just a regular hat. You know,
yeah.
the circle brim, and
Mm.
you know.
Penguin definitely has the top hat, like you said in that
Yeah,
show. So
yeah.
you'll be curious to see what they do with that flash forward with the Joker because he's has the makeup and not quite the makeup. It's like almost like a pale white, not full blown white, mixed in with the green hair. So we'll see if it actually looks like the Joker in the final episode. But
So are they gonna get a different actor for Bruce?
that's the question.
Oh.
I mean, if I think it's going to be I don't know if it's like 5 or 10 years, but somewhere around that time frame. So
Yeah.
I would imagine so. If it's like 10 years, we're actually call him Batman. He would need to, I think, be a little older than what the actor is now.
Speaking of canceled TV shows, did you see they canceled Daredevil?
Yes, I saw
Netflix?
it. Man, was I bummed.
But it makes me curious. I mean, I was bummed, but makes me curious. Are they gonna do something with
I
these
think
shows on the Disney Plus?
these shows are not going to be on the Disney Plus, as far as I know,
Right.
because
They're
they were
Netflix
saying,
shows.
yeah, I think they were saying the Disney Plus service they want it to be family friendly and no like R-rated or mature content's going to be
Oh.
on there, which Daredevil definitely fits that mature content on there. But I think Disney and Marvel, they just want the characters back to use on their own.
Right.
So here's hoping whether it's because I would love a Daredevil movie again. Just if they have the same cast and gets his own movie, I think that'd be awesome. So I think they're going to use him again. I just don't know where. Hopefully it's a movie, and hopefully it's with the same cast because man, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio as Daredevil and Kingpin were just so good. It's like it's hard to imagine anyone else in those roles now. So Marvel would be smart to keep using those actors.
You know what I saw, Tim?
What's that?
I saw something that I would thought was going to be bad, but it ended up being really good, looking really good.
And that is
Do you know what I'm talking about?
no, but I'm curious.
It came out like these past couple of weeks. It's been all over Twitter.
A TV show or a movie?
A movie.
A new movie.
Yeah. Lion
Trying to think
King.
of what's come out. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
trailer. Okay.
Yeah. Wow, that
No,
was really good.
Lion King looks amazing. I was
Yeah.
blown away by it, man.
Yeah, and I like how, because I mean the Lion King animated movie, you know, it's known for that first trailer that they put out.
Mm.
And I like how they just, let's not add anything or change anything. Let's just recreate that.
Yeah, because it's so iconic. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of complaints about it too. Like, what's the point of remaking the movie? You're just going to do it shot by shot remake of it. It was like, have you ever seen the Lion King story told in this way? Where even though it's not live action, it's obviously CG, but it looks lifelike, so where you could barely tell that it is CG. Like, how cool is that to see like life-looking animals, lions, and creatures doing what you saw in an animated movie? To me, that's amazing, and it's really captured that. I totally agree with you. I'm glad that they're, at least for this trailer anyway, I'm sure they'll make some changes and do some different things in the animated movie. But for that iconic beginning of the film, I think you have to do it almost shot by shot because it's that iconic. You don't want them to change anything. You're just really cool to see it in a way you've never seen before, where it looks very lifelike. And Jon Favreau's knocking it out of the park, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Jungle Book was good, but Lion King looks like it's going to outdo Jungle Book.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't going to be very good. But then I saw that trailer and I was like, wow, that's actually really good.
Yep.
And I'm so, apparently I had missed it, but I'm so happy that they got James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I mean, that was a must.
Yeah.
Every other
Mufasa.
character has been recast, but no one else can do Mufasa.
Yeah.
Just James Earl Jones has to, so that's really cool.
There's one thing you can't change.
Nope.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm gonna go see it. I really am.
29th 2019 is going to be a great year for movies, man. A lot of cool stuff coming out.
Yeah.
But Jordan continues with his email saying, going back to a movie from 1993, he goes, I'm glad to hear you got to see Batman Mask of the Phantasm in theaters. Again, in your case too, Tim. My showing of Batman Mask of the Phantasm was empty too, and while I would have loved it for more fans were there to get the super experience of seeing this film on the big screen, I'm just super pumped that I got the experience. I went and saw Superman the movie in theaters for the very first time this past Sunday too. Like I said, I was going to in my last email, and what a super magical experience that was as well. I've heard so many fellow Superman fans of an older generation than I talk about how super magical it was seeing it on the big screen back in 1978, and now I feel fortunate to have gotten that experience myself 40 years later for its 40th anniversary. Like I said in my last email, that was something super high on my bucket list, and I finally gotten to do it after wanting to for so long. By the way, the other new DC animated movie you forgot to mention that Fathom Events gave a theatrical release in addition to Batman the Killing Joke and Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders is Batman and Harley Quinn. I've gone to see them all, and I'm super hyped to continue that with The Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman on January 13th. Yes, seeing Superman, the movie, had to be really cool seeing on the big screen. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see that one, but that's still something. I got like a classic movie I got to see on the big screen. So hopefully, even if it's not for an anniversary or anything, sometimes my local theater has what they call Tuesday night classics, just where I got to see Batman 89 back in March. So hopefully they'll do that for Superman at some point too, because I really got to see that on the big screen as well. I'm totally with Tim with regards to the Watchmen film. I think it's super. It features super performances, especially Jackie Earle Haley's, it features super performances, especially Jackie Earle Haley's, super breathtaking visuals, and its super faithful adaptation of a super comic book. I've actually even loved the Hallelujah scene. It's one of my favorite scenes, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah, he goes, as I love Night Owl and Silk Spectre's romance, I love that song, and I love how that scene both is a moment of Night Owl and Silk Spectre finding happiness again during a dark time in their lives, and at that same time, how it emphasizes Night Owl's flawed motivation for being a hero, just as we see the flawed motivations of all the other heroes in the story. I've got a funny story about that scene, as a matter of fact. In college, I took a course on graphic novels. To, I'm sure to no one's surprise, is my favorite class I ever took. The first day, the professor passed out pages from The Dark Knight Returns to the class, and I never geeked out so hard in school. One of the books we covered in the class was Watchmen. We've got to talking about the Night Owl Silk Spectre scene in the comic, and I started singing Hallelujah. I'm the only one who laughed. I'm not sure what to make of that, but I sure thought it was funny. Maybe someone just didn't get the reference there, yeah. Jordan. But if I was in the class with you, I would have chuckled as well. So,
well, I mean, yeah, I guess Zack Snyder knows how to pick out music. I do actually agree with you that the times they are changing in the beginning is really good. The credit sequence, and then I think there's the Simon and Garfunkel song during the funeral scene for I almost called him the Joker, the comedian, and Hallelujah, I guess. So yeah, I mean it's great music. It's just for me that wasn't a good scene. Ugh. I mean, it kind of gives me the chills in a bad way.
Not in the good chills way.
Not in a good way.
Well, at least we know this is one person who's enjoying it. So.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder, it wasn't for nothing, and not everyone thought it was a scene that fit or whatnot. So.
Yeah. Plus, I think people are split on Watchmen.
Yeah.
Some people love it. People like me don't like it. So I think people are split on it. So
yeah, I guess your typical Zack Snyder film split. Yeah.
Yeah. There is one movie I will say nothing good about that he directed. That's 300.
I've actually never seen that one.
Yeah, don't. I mean, I know people love it and stuff, and people think it's cool, but I don't know. I'm getting a slight hint of racism. So. I don't know, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, was there 301 Spartans or 299? Because like there's one guy that he's telling the story. So was it 301 or 299?
I guess 300 is a better title than 299 or
Yeah,
301.
300. 101 Dalmatian?
Yeah, they didn't want to be, I guess, lumped into that type of title.
Yeah.
But Jordan continues the email saying, I am super pumped about the casting of John Cryer as Lex Luthor on Supergirl. I love how he's following in Michael Rosenbaum's footsteps as another primarily comedic actor taking on Lex, according to Kevin Smith's delivering a dark turn on the character, because Michael is primarily a comedic actor who used that background to inform his primarily dramatic take on Lex, which resulted in both my favorite live-action Lex and my favorite live-action performance period of all time. John's casting as Lex is another example of DC's, and specifically Supergirl's, who does it the absolute best out of all the current live-action DC TV shows, in my opinion, super legacy casting. I love John as Lenny Luthor in Superman 4 and find him super hilarious, and it's exciting that he'll be playing my favorite fictional villain of all time, Lenny's iconic uncle. Honestly, I can't think of anyone I'd rather see cast in the role other than Tom Welling, who was my dream fan cast due to his portrayal of Clark Luthor in Smallville season 10, and how super fun a twist it would be to see him play Lex. But I knew he wasn't going to be cast, given he said previously he wouldn't play Lex on Supergirl. I'm super hyped to see what John brings to the role.
Didn't Tom Welling sort of like hint that he wanted to be in Man of Steel?
I don't remember him saying that.
Brandon
Routh?
Routh, yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I don't remember actually hearing that from any of those actors, but
or was it Tom Welling for the Superman Returns? I can't remember.
I know there was rumors about that, like, or even the Justice League movie, the one by George Miller that was back in 2007. I know there was talk about maybe having him play Superman in that film, but I think it was just in the rumor mill. I don't know if that was actually something they considered or not.
Right.
But I know another thing about it more, maybe they actually did consider him for Superman Returns too. I think now that I'm remembering, that might have been the case, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Jordan can fill us in on the next email if there was any truth to those rumors about Tom Welling being Superman in any of those movies.
Because how I remember it was that he sort of like hinted in the press that he wanted to play Superman in Superman Returns, and then it came out that they were looking for somebody that looked like Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, I think there might be some truth to that, actually.
Yeah. But anyway.
But I do think John Cryer as Lex on Supergirl is pretty cool casting. It is funny to think that he was Lex's nephew in Superman 4, and now he's going to be playing him in Supergirl. Supergirl has actually been really good this season. I missed the first few episodes, but I got into it like around the fourth episode, I believe. But been really good with what they're doing as Sam Witwer as Agent Liberty has been a great villain, and then they threw in Manchester Black, who was a Superman villain. I was excited to see portrayed in this series, and he's been done well. So now that they're going to bring Lex into the mix, it should be, hopefully, this good season should continue on.
Anything with Sam Witwer is good.
Yeah, he just always brings it in his roles. Yeah. Then Jordan continues saying, how about that final Aquaman trailer, Super Friends? And Jordan, this might be the only time I do this in one of your emails, but I purposely did not watch that trailer because I felt I've seen enough footage for Aquaman, and we're just a little under a month away when that trailer came out. So I didn't want to watch it and see any more new footage, but I've heard it is amazing. And I know I had to stop when I first read your email because you were describing certain moments that I want to keep away from. So I'm actually going to skip that for this portion, but I know you loved it, and everyone I've seen who saw that recent trailer said it looks awesome. And yeah, I just can't wait to see it because tickets were on sale. I got my Amazon Prime exclusive early screening ticket booked for the Saturday before the Thursday screening it comes out, which is December 15th. So I'm super excited about it. Even without seeing that trailer, I can't wait to see it. I'm hearing great things. It's gotten pretty positive reactions on social media and Twitter. I think the review embargo is still out for a week or two, but seems to be having a good buzz so far. So just need to see the movie now. So I've seen it. The last trailer we got that was like 5 minutes. That was good for me. It's like, man, it looks great. They're showing a lot of footage here. I don't need to see any more. And I think there's more awesome stuff in this most recent trailer that I'll watch after I see the movie. But it was pretty cool, though, of James Wan, because I think someone said to him, "Man, you guys are showing too much footage." It was like, save some for the movie. But then James Wan responded saying, "What's in this trailer is like not even close to what other stuff you haven't seen in the movie." So that was good to hear, but still didn't want to watch it. Still want to save it for when I see the movie because we're just so close now. But Jordan continues saying, "We already knew about Smallville's Kent farm being used in Elseworld, which I geeked out super hard about on the previous email to you guys. But now Stephen Amell has teased that there's another Smallville treat in Elseworlds that made even him, who's only seen a couple of episodes of Smallville, jump out of his seat. If it did that for someone who isn't a massive Smallville fanatic like I am, I can only imagine I may super likely faint seeing whatever he's talking about. I already thought I might faint during Elseworlds just seeing Smallville's Kent farm again, as the feeling I've gotten seeing it just in the images and the last promo we have gotten has been super extraordinary and similar to the feeling I get whenever I watch the Smallville episode Homecoming and see the Smallville high again. We're so close to Elseworlds now, 9 days as of my writing of this email, and my excitement level is through the roof. Speaking of the latest Elseworlds promo, besides the glimpse we get of Smallville's Kent farm, which is my number one favorite moment from it, my other favorite moments are seeing Superman finally with some of the non-Earth 38 Arrowverse heroes and the shot of the black suit Superman at the end. It sounds like someone, I was thinking John Wesley Shipp's Barry Allen, Flash was talking with Dr. John Deegan, but my super friend Stephen Marshall thinks it's more likely he's talking to either the Monitor or Black Suit Superman, who messed with the 90s Flash's Earth, which is super intriguing. I hope Tina and Julio are okay. Yeah, I can't wait for Elseworlds. It's looking really, really good. That last promo that you're mentioning, it was great. I mean, just seeing Superman interact with Green Arrow, the Flash is great. But then also, too, there was that promo that featured Batwoman, and just hearing Green Arrow and Flash say the words Batman, because they do say Batman, Green Arrow's all. The Batman is just a myth and a legend. And then once Flash sees Barry Allen in the Green Arrow costume, once he sees Batwoman, he goes, "You're not Batman." So I just love hearing them say the name Batman in this universe. Like, finally, we're just getting that much closer to maybe Batman finally showing up here. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. Just a week away, and we're going to be talking about that on our next episode, as it will air before we record our next one. So definitely looking forward to that. And Batwoman continues to look awesome. Seeing her suit in motion, it looks really, really good. I don't know if you've seen any of those trailers for it, Dane, but on the Batwoman front and just how she looks visually, I don't think you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. I saw a picture, not the first picture we got, but another picture of I forget her name.
Ruby Rose.
Ruby Rose, right? It's so easy, Ruby Rose.
Yeah.
In the Batwoman suit, and she looked really good. So hopefully it's good, Tim.
Yeah. I'm getting excited for it. I mean, everything I've seen about it looks really, really good. So hopefully it all comes together for a great 3-episode arc with these characters.
And I am afraid to ask, but so Flash is going to be Arrow and Arrow is going to be Flash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it seems like they're aware of it, but nobody around them is aware of it. Yeah.
I see.
So yeah, so something had to do obviously with the monitors in it, so there's going to be screwing around with the different universes and that type of stuff. So to me, it's going to be fun to see him. I hope it's not all 3 episodes. I hope by the time we get to the last one, they're back to their normal selves in their costumes, because I do want to see Stephen Amell playing Green Arrow and Grant Gustin playing Flash, mixing it up with Superman. Because I would hate it to be if it's the only time they're interacting with Superman is when they're in each other's costumes. I want to see them in their proper superhero roles with Superman. I think that'd be great. So, which I have a feeling it will. But yeah, just a week away, so we'll be sure to be talking about it on our next episode. But as always, Jordan has a couple of questions to wrap up his email. First one, he says, does Otis Donji, the actor playing teenage Arthur in Aquaman, look a bit like Heath Ledger to you guys? In the quick shot we've gotten of him, he does to me. Yeah, I didn't quite get that vibe, Jordan. Seeing him in the trailer and then just seeing other images, I didn't get the Heath Ledger look. I mean, to me, he looks like a great young Jason Momoa, so, which I guess is the most important thing since he's playing a young Aquaman. But can't say he reminded me of Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It looks like a good young Jason Momoa, so yeah.
So maybe seeing him more in the actual movie, maybe we'll get that vibe. But as of right now, I didn't really remind me of anything of Heath Ledger. But his second question is, what are your top 5 favorite scenes in the DCEU so far? Mine are, number 5, the Battle of Smallville and Man of Steel. The town of Smallville means so much to me, so seeing it wrecked is super emotional for me. And I love how it ends with Colonel Hardy embracing Kal-El as an ally. Number 4, the Battle of Metropolis in Man of Steel. It's my favorite live-action fight scene of all time, so I love how super epic it is. Hans Zimmer's score and how it ends with Superman killing Zod, but being emotional and distraught about the fact that he had to do so. Number 3, Clark having a vision of Jonathan in Batman v Superman. It's a super beautiful homage to when Clark has a vision of Jonathan in the Smallville episode Lazarus. I love how it references the Langs, and I love how even in death, Jonathan is always there to give Clark the advice he needs. Number 2, Clark saving the school bus in Man of Steel. I love seeing Lana stand up for Clark and then seeing Clark be a hero despite the potential consequences, and also go back for Pete despite that he was bullying him, as that is precisely the kind of hero Superman is. The number 1, Superman's first flight in Man of Steel. This is my favorite scene in the history of live-action cinema, as it always gives me goosebumps, makes me smile, and lifts me up. I find it super inspiring and beautiful. I love Jor-El's speech inspired by All-Star Superman, and I love Zimmer's music so much. Yeah, some good choices on there, and one of them is on my list as well, Jordan. So going from number 5 to number 1, my number 5 pick is going to be not really a scene, but a sequence, and it's going to be the Krypton opening sequence in Man of Steel. Man, I love that sequence. It's how it kicks off the movie, and seeing Krypton like never before is just great. It's so much better than, just the frozen landscape we got in the Richard Donner Superman film. I just love how it looked, and just how it was pretty much, we're seeing a sci-fi film in the beginning of a Superman movie, and it just fits so beautifully with, the Superman story we all know and love, and just seeing Krypton in a way that we've never seen before with different alien creatures. I love the dragon flying creature that Jor-El flew on. It was just great visually, so I just love that whole entire sequence, and the fact that it was in a Superman movie just made it even better. Then number 4, I'm going to go with Superman fights the Justice League in Justice League. That's probably my favorite moment of the whole movie of Justice League. We knew probably the original intention was to have him, at least for a part of it, Superman who was kind of evil, but there was a whole debate about for the whole first part of the movie and Zack Snyder's plan, Superman was supposed to be evil, and then in part 2 he would become good again. But I liked how it was played out in the film we got, where just that one sequence, because we didn't need a whole half of the movie where Superman is evil and they have to work to get him back. But I thought it was done well here. But just seeing him take on the Justice League and seeing his powers unfold was just really awesome. Something we've never got to see before in a live action DC movie, and it was just really cool. That moment of Flash trying to use his super speed to get him from behind as he's holding Aquaman and, or is it Wonder Woman and Cyborg, or Aquaman and Wonder Woman? I can't remember who, but the way Superman just turns his head as he's able to keep up with Flash's super speed was just awesome. So just seeing his powers on display taking on the Justice League was great. And then number 3, I'm going to go with No Man's Land sequence in Wonder Woman. I mean, that's I think one of the best crowd pleasing moments in any superhero film is just seeing Wonder Woman go into that no man's land area and just take down all those soldiers, and just they're firing everything they had at her, and it's having no effect, and she's just marching on, taking them down. It was just fantastic, and I know for a lot of people such an inspiring moment, so that's definitely got to be up there. And then number 2 is one you had on here, Jordan. It's actually, I could say the entire sequence, but more specifically when Superman kills Zod. I know it's one of the more controversial ones, but I've said it before, how I just love how that moment encompasses the emotion Superman has there. I mean, he's fighting to protect his adopted home of Earth, but yet he has the last person, the fate of the last Kryptonian in his hands, and is he going to sacrifice that for his adopted home, against his birth home? And he chooses his adoptive home, and just the pain he had of killing Zod, knowing that he had to, how much it hurt him to do so, but and how it played out to how he had to save the people of Earth instead. And the music that plays in there is one of the more emotional bits of music that Hans Zimmer had for the Man of Steel score, and it's probably my favorite piece of it from the already outstanding soundtrack. So you compass all that, and one thing I was hoping for as the movies moved on was that would be the point that made Superman have his no-kill rule, but they never really expanded on that. And so, which I kind of hoping they would, but still, I like to think in my headcanon that is where Superman becomes, to have that no kill rule in the DCEU. So that's my number 2. And then number 1 is going to be the Batman warehouse fight sequence in Batman versus Superman. Besides just being an amazing action sequence with seeing Batman fight like we've never seen him before in live action, I really do love the reasoning behind it, where he's there to save Martha Kent, doing it for Superman. It just adds a great narrative to an already an impressive fight sequence. So yeah, that was probably always still, or man, I can't talk on this episode. I've been fumbling over words all episode, but I would say that one always will stand out probably as my favorite from the DCEU. Is that just being the huge Batman fan that I am, it doesn't get much better than seeing Batman kick butt trying to save the mother of his best friend. So I love that sequence. So Dane, now I'm curious to see your new favorite moment from the DCEU, and just, I think you said the favorite comic book movie in general. So,
yeah. And Jordan actually mentions it in one of his choices, but okay. Starting from 5, it's going to be the what Jordan calls the Battle of Smallville, because there is so much great product placement in that scene. John Deere gets in there, Sears, U-Haul, IHOP. Am I missing the National Guard? Am I missing anything, Tim? Probably some of the cars. Probably some of the cars that you see. There's so much great product placement. I mean, totally creative on the product placement in that scene. Number 4 is... Which
I got to say real quick, I know a lot of people don't... Product placement annoys them. It never really bothers me. I never quite understand.
No, love it. I love it, Tim. I love it in films.
But I always hear it as a criticism for people. Oh, I like this movie, but the product placement took it out of it. Unless you're doing like a Lord of the Rings or Star Wars type movie where it would really take you out of it. Like seeing it in a realistic movie set in our world, like Man of Steel was, why not have real stuff there? Right? I don't see what the big deal is, but
yeah, that's why. I don't know if you heard this report, Tim, but the standalone Batman movie, the final chase scene is going to be in a Pepsi factory. Yeah. I don't know if you know that. There's going to be, Batman's going to throw the Joker through a bunch of Pepsi. Instead of Joker falling from, the rafters into a vat of chemicals, he's going to be falling into a vat of Pepsi.
Oh, man. Wow.
But
I love Pepsi, though, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
My number 4 is going to be the No Man's Land fight scene from Wonder Woman. Number 3 is going to be the Batman warehouse fight scene. Number 2, what should my number 2 be?
Is it going to be not quite your one that just became one of your favorite moments?
No,
that's maybe number 1.
My number 2 is going to be when Batman rescues Martha, because that's the one scene that's never really made any sense to me. I mean, Clark can hear Lois, I don't know, breathe when he's on the other side of the world, right? But then he can't go save his mom.
Well, he had to stop Lex too. I think.
Yeah, but he saves Lois like 18 times in 2 movies, and
I really think this is something Batman really wanted to do to make up for trying to kill Superman. I think it's probably something he had to do.
It's like, wow, I guess you don't care about your mom then that much.
I wouldn't say that, but
I mean, if I was Superman, Tim, I would go after my mom before I went after.
If anything,
Lois.
you maybe could make the argument that he trusted Batman a little too quickly after fighting like that. But
I guess I don't know. But my number 1 is probably my favorite scene in any Batman superhero genre film ever, and that's going to be Kevin Costner in Batman v Superman.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I know what they were trying to do, Tim. It was supposed to be like Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs, where she's talking about, this traumatic thing in her life or her childhood where she could hear the lamb screaming before they were slaughtered. And she delivers it really well. It's written really well because she's a great actress, right? So, but this one, it's like, okay, so you did some stuff. You had your hero's cake, and the Lang horses drowned, but you had your cake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what's the point of this story?
Yeah, to be honest, I've never really much cared for that sequence. It didn't get the point across that like you said, like I think it wanted to.
So it's okay if people die or horses die as long as you find a man or a woman to fall in love with?
Yeah, so
okay.
So it's not really one of your favorite sequences.
No, it's my favorite sequence, Tim.
But not for the right reasons.
It doesn't make sense. B, Kevin Costner, I know he's a great actor, Tim. Dances with Wolves, Waterworld. But he just does not pull that off, and it's written terribly, and it's so great. I hear that in my head whenever I'm like, oh, I need to make a big decision here. But the horses drowned while I ate my cake. I'm not sure what that means, but so that's my number one. It makes zero sense. Kind of slows the movie to a dead stop there.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not written very well. Yeah.
I was going to say, if that really was your favorite sequence, I was going to say, man, I have to disagree with you on there. But you're saying it's pretty much why I feel that scene never really worked for me. And it was a waste of bringing Jonathan Kent back when Kevin Costner to play him again.
I mean, I know what they were going for. They were going for that wizened old man giving advice to the child, but
to inspire him to go back to being Superman. But
it's supposed to come off like or at least what I think, it's supposed to come off like Jodie Foster talking to Hannibal Lecter about, when she was a kid, how she loved the lambs, and, she didn't know that the lambs are going to be slaughtered to be sold, and she could hear them screaming. It was traumatic for her, right? And she can still hear the lamb screaming, right? Because she's traumatized by it. I know that's what they were going for, but it just does not work at all. And it's not written as well as, or acted as well as Jodie Foster did it. And I mean, it shows because she won an Oscar for that movie. And Batman vs. Superman got like a 20% on 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. So,
all because of that one scene.
That's my favorite scene in any Batman movie ever made, or superhero movie. It's so great. It's awkward. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, well, sorry, Jordan, to rag on your number. I think it was your number 3 pick.
No, I'm not. I'm not ragging on you, Jordan. You're totally legitimate in your choices. In that choice, don't let what I say take anything away from what you think. But I just totally love that scene. Yeah, but don't listen to me. I'm an old man already.
Yeah, if I got the point across to you that it meant to, then that's all that matters.
Yeah. Just as long as you understood it in a different way and you think it's great, that's all good, man.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap up Jordan's email. As always, he ends it with Klana Forever. So thank you, Jordan, as always. Look forward to your next email. And now we can go ahead and go into our comic book reviews. And this one is going to be Batman 59. And as always, got to throw out the spoiler warnings out there, as I'll be getting into the nitty gritty in this issue and all that goes down in it. So if you haven't read the issue yet, you might want to hold off. And for our rating scale for this episode, Dane, I was thinking, how about movies that causes you to be stuck in traffic for hours and hours.
It's either that or Jordan choices that Dane inadvertently bashes, even though he doesn't mean to.
I'll pick one or the other, maybe both by the time I'm done with the review.
My bad, Jordan. My bad. I didn't. I didn't mean it.
But yeah, you did. Batman issue 59 is continuing on the Tyrant Wing story arc, where it picks up right where the last issue ended, where Batman's confronting Penguin about the murders of those women that are connected to Mr. Freeze. At the same time, it also starts with him going into Arkham to confront Bane, because this issue pretty much goes back and forth with Batman talking to Penguin, and then Batman doing an interrogation with Bane, a very brutal interrogation. So, yeah, it kicks off with Penguin kind of telling Batman what he doesn't want to believe, but yet knows it's true, how Bane is orchestrating everything, those murders, the connection with Mr. Freeze, the hit on Alfred. Penguin's letting it all out, letting you know that he's been working for Bane, and Bane, has been doing this to you for quite a while. And Batman doesn't want to believe it, saying he's been locked up in Arkham. It's a lie. I've seen him in there. So to go to see if Penguin's telling the truth, he goes to Arkham himself, but there's bunch of police guards standing in front of the cell just saying, they can't let him pass. And then this is Batman unhinged and not caring about anything here after everything that's happened to him. Dick getting shot, Catwoman leaving him, like I said, the hit on Alfred that just happened recently, the jury duty that he had to go to.
Can I interrupt you really quick?
What's up?
Is Jordan on Twitter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's his?
He's back.
Twitter
he had to create a new account.
Yeah. But what's his new Twitter handle?
No, let me look that up real quick.
Yeah, because he didn't friend me. Thanks a lot, Jordan. No, that's just his revenge for what I just said.
Now he's really not going to follow you after years. But he's, so, yeah, before, remember, it used to be at Bat-Fan Jordan. Yeah. Now it's at Smallville Fan JV.
Oh, okay. I'll go friend him now, even though he won't friend me back.
Yeah.
At
Smallville Fan.
Smallville Fan JV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I got him.
Okay, cool. That was important. You had to make sure you're following each other on social media. So
yeah.
I'll allow that interruption.
Oh, Tim, he does follow me. I just never follow.
Oh, so you're the jerk here.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jordan. I'm so sorry.
Man, Jordan's not going to write in anymore after this.
I know.
After you're bashing his number 3 pick. You never followed him after he followed you. Real good, Dane.
You know what this episode is done already. Let's just say the end stuff and just leave it as be, because I'm not so sure I can say anything without bashing Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll just have to remain silent, I guess, for the last minute or so. But back to the issue of Batman. Like I said, it's like Batman unhinged and just, really not caring about what anyone thinks or that tries to get in his way. I mean, he threatens the police officers here, just and throws one of them against the wall, just telling them to let him pass. And they do. And he responds by saying that was the wise choice. But man, Batman interrogating Bane here. This is I kind of like that. We got the classic interrogation scene in The Dark Knight. This is what it would be like if, Joker didn't tell Batman where Rachel and Dent were, and he just let loose on him to get that information, because Batman lets loose on Bane here like we've hardly seen him ever do. And Bane is playing the innocent man here, because he was just saying, he's acting all scared and frightened. He's cowering in the corner of the cell, his hands covering his head, just saying, I can't help you, don't hurt me. And he's having these traumatizing flashback to his childhood from his moments in prison, calling out for his mother, saying, it's happening again. Mommy, don't let him hurt me, that type of stuff. Where's my mommy? But Batman's not having it. I just love her. Batman knows it's an act. He throws him against the wall. He starts pounding him with his fist. I mean, he's just really laying into it on here. He just had it because, like I said, Penguin's confessing all this stuff to him. Batman reluctantly has to accept that he's telling the truth, because he pretty much says, hey, Penguin, if you're telling me all this, I know you're lying, because pretty much you're going to be dead. But then Penguin reveals to him, death is kind of what he's looking for now after losing that woman that he loved, Penny, and wants to be with her in death. So he's pretty much doesn't care if Bane ends up killing him, and that's how Batman realizes, he's probably telling the truth here, because this is pretty much un-Penguin-like for him to be doing that, but he gives that reason that convinces him. And then, like I said, Batman just lets loose on Bane. I just love how he goes through all the things that the list of things Bane has done to him. Like I said, the framing a freeze, trying to kill Alfred, those women, and then what really sets Batman off. And I love the dialogue that Tom King used here. He doesn't say he uses it. You tried to kill Nightwing. He goes, "You shot my boy," and he just shouts that out as he kicks Bane in the face. And then as he continues to beat him up, Gordon enters the room. And I kind of liken this also to the Dark Knight interrogation sequence, where this is what would happen if Joker didn't tell him the locations of Rachel, of Harvey, and somehow Gordon got to enter the room, regardless of Batman putting that chair against it. Because this is probably what Batman would do. Gordon enters the room and he's telling him, like, yelling at Batman to stop. And Batman's telling him, no, this is all an act. You got to see this is an act. And then when Gordon is not hearing it, he's telling Batman, you need to calm down. Batman just tells him, let go. And he just punches Gordon right in the face. And he just yells at him, saying, like, I know what Bane is doing here. And then Gordon's like, that's it. He goes, get out. You need to leave now. He goes, if you don't, I'll give you a head start. But if you don't, I'll send the GCPD after you. I'll even send the Justice League after you. And, this sets Gordon off. He goes, I'm sick of you. Get out of my sight. So everything's coming to a boiling point here. And Batman does have some remorse. He takes a step back and he just says, wait, Gordon, he doesn't say I'm sorry, but that's what he's feeling. So he leaves. Things are a mess for Batman. He's losing everyone. The only person he really has right now is Alfred as an ally. Dick has been shot. Gordon now, his relationship with him is strained. So things are going according to plan, or to Bane's plan, I should say. And as the issue ends with Bane kind of getting reeled out in a hospital bed, all beat up, bruised, swollen eyes, swollen mouth. But then you just kind of wonder, okay, is something going on here with Bane? He's behind this, but who is this person Batman's beating up? Is it like someone impersonating Bane? But it ends up being that it is Bane, because at the very last page, we see him smiling. He's all bruised up, just, realizing everything's going according to his plan. So more great stuff here. I just love how, unhinged Batman is here, just, after everything that's happened. And I do like the little tangle that it's throwing in with his relationship with Gordon here, how, we never seen Batman actually punch Gordon. It was a pretty powerful sight to behold, knowing just how strong a relationship they had as friends. And now seeing it pretty strained like this, it's going to be interesting to see if it can be repaired and how long that will take. So more good stuff here from Tom King. So I'm going to give this issue 4 out of 5. Oh man, I forgot the version you said, Dane, about Jordan's question. But
Jordan,
I'll guess.
Yeah, just do the traffic one.
So okay, 4 out of 5 movies that causes Dane to be stuck in traffic in Hawaii, and questions that Jordan asked that Dane bashes unapologetically. So
unapologetically.
I should add 2 times that Dane doesn't follow Jordan on social media when Jordan follows him.
I'm sorry, Jordan. Let this be my apology. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm crying right now if you can't hear it in my voice.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. As you're apologizing to Jordan, Dane, you can go ahead and take it to the outro as well.
All right. Just follow Jordan at Bat-Fan, Smallville Fan Jordan, or JV. What is it? At Smallville Fan JV.
Yes.
Yeah. And go to the BatmanUniverse.net, Facebook.com/BatmanUniverse, Twitter handles at BatmanUniverse, show's Twitter handles at Bat-Fans Podcast, Tim's Twitter handles at TimG311. I'll say it just in case, Tim.
You can't offend anyone else on this episode.
And my Twitter handles at DaneSaysBanana. And you can email the show at batmanswithoutpants@gmail.com. So, like we say at the end of every single episode today,
we love each and every one of you with all of our bat and apologetic hearts.
Apologetic, that's correct. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time, everybody.
boy. Scarecrows frightened of a clown that's laughing boy.